So we are back with a brand new episode of Walkin and Talking with Tim, and my guest today is Marshall Spevak. Did I say it right?
Yes, you did.
You know what? Every once in a while I get it right. And Marshall is the CEO of the Battleship New Jersey. And this is kind of a full circle moment for me because I was involved with that battleship a long time ago when it first got here. So, tell everybody exactly what it is you do at the Battleship and what the mission of the Battleship is, since it is a nonprofit.
Yeah. So I'm the CEO of the Battleship, and it's my real honor and privilege to be working in that role on such a historic place and a historic ship. And we are a museum and memorial. We're a private 501c3 nonprofit. The ship is not, contrary to public belief, it is not owned by the Navy. It's not owned by the federal government. Right. It is owned by our nonprofit. And we are a museum and a memorial. So we do everything from coming aboard and taking tours of the ship to hosting events. We do everything from small, promotion and retirement ceremonies to high school proms and weddings and concerts and basically everything in between. Proms. We do a lot of high school, junior and senior proms.
That's wild.
And we also do have a overnight program. You can come, you can sleep where the sailors slept in the bunks. You can go through the chow line where the sailors went through, and there's a lot of really fun activities all throughout the night and in the morning.
Yeah.
And we do a lot of really cool events, and we work with the Navy a lot. And we just celebrated the 250th birthday of the Navy and Marine Corps, which was a really incredible experience for us. And it's just, it's a really cool opportunity to work at a different place. I work on the battleship itself. That's where my office is. And so when I roll up every morning, I'm not rolling up to a corporate office building. I'm rolling up to America's most decorated battleship.
That's wild.
And it's something that I really enjoy. It's been a real thrill for me.
That is wild to think that's where you go to work, right?
Yep.
That's got to be so much fun. So you had a big journey, like leading up to that, right? So let's talk a little bit about that. Tell everybody, kind of where you started and how it landed you on the deck of the ship.
Well, it started coming to the Battleship when she came back to New Jersey, opened as a museum. Used to come visit the ship with my dad when I was a kid. Always really loved it. Grew up around a lot of members of the military and veterans, and that had a big impact on me, early on in my life. I grew up in a very, patriotic family.
Amen.
And especially at the time, after 9/11, I was in 7th grade in 9/11, or 8th grade, excuse me, in 9/11. And, then afterwards in deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan, thousands of troops. We became involved in a lot of military charitable organizations and helped raise money for a lot of different groups in the South Jersey area. And then started working in government and in politics. Had a neighbor who was a state senator.
Full time in DC.
And got involved in working in government, working in his state senate office in Cherry Hill, and got hooked on it. So spent many years working in government, working in politics, working in the public affairs world. And I ultimately ended up on the board of trustees of the Battleship.
There you go.
For 7 years, including 3 years as the chair of the board, which was during the entirety of the COVID lockdown period. And then when my predecessor decided to retire, as we were starting to plan for the dry docking of the ship in 2024, I was asked if I was interested in stepping in and taking over, and I promptly said no several times.
The ship needed a new leader.
Yeah.
And you said, you didn't think you were going to like it as much as you do.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
You
see things from a certain perspective as a board member, and that's not always the same perspective being there on a day-to-day basis.
Right.
And being able to work on the ship. I mean, the dry docking project was an incredible experience and opportunity. not just for the battleship, but for our entire staff. I mean,
Right.
this is a once in a 30-year
Right.
opportunity.
Huge project.
Huge project. We spent almost $10 million
Good God.
in, you know, what was basically 90 days. So yeah, it was an incredible experience. And I thought, you know what, I can't go back to, you know, my everyday life after this. This is a unique opportunity, and that's something I want to stick with. And I love the battleship. I love our veterans.
And your staff, you said
and
they're
our
great.
staff is incredible. We have some people. You know, I like to say I'm just a civilian, but we have people who have served. We have people on our staff who've served on the battleship.
Yeah.
And you know, we do what we do to preserve the legacy of those who you know, who served on the ship and served in all the military branches. And we feel very strongly about making sure that we pass on that legacy and that heritage to future generations, and that sort of patriotic message.
And you said the most decorated.
So the Battleship New Jersey is the longest, fastest, and most decorated battleship in the 250-year history of the United States Navy.
That's wild.
And it's right here on the Camden waterfront and has been for 25 years. So we're the longest at 887 feet, 7 inches long. We are the longest battleship by all of 4 inches. Fastest battleship, 35.2 knots. Although if you ask some of our sailors at various times, they'll tell you the ship went a little faster than that. And most decorated, 19 battle and campaign stars through World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Beirut, Lebanon, and the Persian Gulf. And she was in service at 4 different times, basically from 1943 until February 1991. And then in 2000, she came back to New Jersey, and in 2001 was opened as a museum
To the public. So listen, you know, let's talk about you a little bit. So you're a family guy.
Yep.
You're married. You got 2 daughters. What's your wife's name?
My wife's Andrea.
Andrea. So your wife Andrea, whom you met, you know, in North Jersey. She's from North Jersey.
She's from North Jersey.
But was it in North Jersey where you met her?
We met in San Antonio, Texas.
Oh, okay.
But at a convention, believe
Or
it
you
or not.
ignored her for like,
Yeah, or she likes to say I ignored her for many weeks beforehand. She was living in Jersey, up in Bergen County, where she's from, and I was living in Washington, D.C. at the time. And we met on the very last day of that convention, and ended up moving back to Jersey about a half a year later. And we ended up working together in the state legislature.
Yeah.
And I worked in the district down in Atlantic City. She worked in Bergen County, and we would only see each other on the weekends. And then we would see each other at the State House, actually. That's when we would see each other during the week. We would see each other in the caucus room at the State House. And we've been together ever since.
Nice. And you got a 2-year-old, 5-year-old daughter.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yep.
So you said you're just this morning. You said just this morning. You felt like, might be able to start getting a little time to get ready.
Yep. Yeah.
That's how
It's
is.
always a fight for just a few minutes to yourself. Right?
I know, man. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
My wife was great. She took care of a lot of stuff for me when I was starting this business. So, you know, you said you live in Cherry Hill. You said your parents also live in Cherry Hill. You got a sister in Mount Laurel, so you got a very tight family. What's your family unit like, especially this time of year as Thanksgiving's upon us, Christmas is upon us? What's things like in your world?
Yeah, well, we do a lot of, you know, because we all live so close, we see each other so often, which is
That's cool.
so nice. And my oldest daughter and my oldest nephew are basically like brother and sister. They fight like they're brother and sister at least.
Which is apropos.
Which is all in the day's work. All the kids just love each other so much, which is just an awesome thing to witness and to be able to see. So I live 10 minutes from the house I grew up in. My parents are still in that house. We all sort of live within 15 minutes of each other. We see each other quite often, and you know, we just
You're tight.
We're tight, yeah.
That's good.
It's nice. It's a nice.
It's a very nice thing. The other thing we talked about, which I thought was really interesting, is your take on, you know, up and coming leaders. You're a young leader. You know, obviously you're 37 or something like that. So you're in your 30s. You're leading one of the coolest things in South Jersey. Yeah. You're CEO of. That's awesome. So I asked you what advice you would give to some of the young up-and-coming leaders, and you gave me an interesting take on how millennials kind of bridged the divide. And I like that. So talk about that.
Yeah, so I was saying, I was having this conversation the other day, you know, I'm 37, I'm sort of an elder millennial, as they'll call it. But, you know, we're sort of like the last generation that bridged the gap, who grew up without the internet, without cell phones, you know, pre-iPhones, pre-Blackberries. When all you did is you came home from school and you went outside and you went down the street to your buddy's house and you played basketball for 17 hours until, you know, your parents called you home. And today it's the exact opposite. It's the phone, it's the iPad, it's the computer.
Put it down.
And you know, so we're the last sort of generation to bridge that divide. But I think for me, you know,
that's such an interesting point.
Yeah.
Like, you know, no, most people don't see it that way, right? You don't see it through that lens of you got to see, you know, how it used to be, and then we're thrown into what it is now. Of course, I did too, but you're in that younger generation. So, you know, as these Gen Zs are coming out into the world out of college, what do you tell them? What do you think?
You know,
or just coming out of high school.
I was very fortunate in the fact that I sort of knew what I wanted to do very early on. I loved government. I loved politics in the political world.
It's an interesting thing to love at a young age.
It is. You know, I remember growing up, my dad used to have like the, if you remember, the World Book Encyclopedia collection. And I used to sit there and I used to read through, you know, year to year, and these are what happened in that year around the world.
You have to keep busy, son.
But that's what I enjoyed doing it. I was fortunate to very early on sort of know what I wanted to do, and that was I wanted to get involved in politics. I wanted to work in government. There are issues that I cared about, especially around veterans, the military, having grown up around so many veterans who were very impactful in my life, members of our military. So basically starting in high school, I started doing that. I worked in politics. I lived down the street from a guy named John Adler, who was a state senator at the time. He went on to be a congressman. Him and my dad were best friends, and they got their start together in the law. We lived down the street from each other. And so I started working in his Senate office in high school, and basically have been involved in politics ever since then. So I started very young in the industry that I was in, and so that allowed me to grow up and make a name for myself earlier than it probably would
as a worker bee.
Yeah, what's probably normal.
How it should be.
Earlier than normal. And so I've been able to, I'm always someone who sort of takes one opportunity at a time and see how it comes and how I can make the best of it. But I think for today, you know, when I talk to young people now who are coming out of college, and I feel old for just talking to young people. You know, I think for me, what I benefited from the most is really some really incredible mentors.
I knew you were going to say that.
I really can't stress that enough. I have people who have gone out of their way for me, who have just given me advice that has helped me stay grounded and think differently than I normally would. And I think for my advice is find people who you can trust, who you can rely on. Don't be afraid to take opportunities. Don't be afraid to ask questions. But at the end of the day, work hard and
put the phone down.
Put the phone down. I mean,
except unless you're watching this.
Yeah, well, unless you're watching.
So if people want to get a hold of you or go to the Battleship or something, how do they do that?
Yeah, we're all over social media. We're all over the internet. We have such an incredible online following. Obviously, we're here in Camden on the waterfront, just right down the street from the aquarium and American Water and some of the big corporate entities. BattleshipNewJersey.org. Also throughout social media, most of their is at Battleship New Jersey. We have a YouTube channel that, believe it or not, has 276,000 subscribers. Ryan, our curator, does an incredible job with that. So we're everywhere on social media, but most importantly, come see us in person. We talk about a lot of really cool stuff online, but it's cool being online, but it's even cooler when you see it in person.
It is.
You can come. We're open 7 days a week. You can basically spend all day out at the ship, and you can walk it at your own leisure.
Have events, whatever you want.
We have events. We do a guided tour every day. If you want someone to take you around, you want to have someone to answer questions,
I suggest the guided tour.
Yeah, we do that every day at noon. Come see us at the Battleship. Come see us in Camden. and it's a really incredible place.
Very cool. Well, listen, thanks for being on.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being part of this. And everybody out there, keep on walking, keep on moving. Follow me on Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, all that fun stuff. And we will see you next time on Walkin' and Talkin' with Tim. Peace.